Hey guys, today welcome to the YouTube channel YouTube IT Learning. Today I'm with Kiran. He's one of my subscriber and he reached out to me. It's a good he got a interview call from one of the IT services company, and we are here to understand what questions he has when he's going for an interview call. What kind of questions comes? We will go through the job description. I normally recommend everyone to go through the job description, read step by step, and understand if a job description is asking for anything particular. Do you know that or not? Not all the time when a job description comes, the 100% you will know 100% of the job interview, but we have to try match up as much as possible. If you're 70-80% as well, that at least you can definitely tell the recruiters that yes, I know 80%, but 20% I'm okay. And not all the time you will know 100%. All the jobs are really different. So we have Kiran with us today. Kiran, how much experience you have? Do you want to give a little bit of introduction for your?
Yes, I have past 6 or 7 years. I've been working in this business analyst domain. Worked for many companies, but every time we go for interview, they ask those routine questions, but there's not a set of fixed answers for them. So, in order to give the right answer, I believe you might help me to cover all the areas
Sure,
while answer that question. So,
sure. No, absolutely, Kiran. And if people doesn't know about me, my name is Jay. I have around 10, 12 years of experience, a decade of experience. I have worked as a BA, product owner, QA, Scrum Master. So let's jump on the job description, what Kiran has shared with me, and let's start the discussion. And couple of questions, guys, you will also be able to understand as well, or maybe correlate with yourself when you will go for a job interview. Let me present my screen. So, Kiran, you can see my screen?
yes, I can.
Perfect. So this one is basically the working title over here is IT business analyst. So the recruiter or the client is looking for an IT business analyst. And this is a 9-page job description, which is pretty much really big, but normally you don't have that big job description. So we'll go over here step by step. So position purpose is the business analyst position exists to perform business analyst functions using a set of tasks and techniques to successfully act as liaison among stakeholders in order to understand the structure, policies and operations of an organization, and to be able to recommend solutions that enables project to be successful and goals to be met. So this is, they have provided an overall purpose of the BA in their company. Let's go down. So now they are talking about dimensions, budget. They are talking about what kind of project they are working on. So this is a budget of under $5 million, and as a member of a BA team with larger projects. So let's go on to the job description over here. Okay, so here's roles, principal responsibilities, task, and performance indicator. So in this role, the responsibility of a business analyst will be business analyst. So 50% of his time will be used for understanding the business. So what kind of task will be here? Provide business analyst planning, monitoring of plan, and determining which activities are necessary to order to complete the business. So if a project is being worked on, you will going to try to understand what the project is. You will analyze that project. That basically the understanding of this point is. Provide elicitation to work with stakeholders to identify and understand their needs and concern within the environment. So basically, when you are gathering the requirement, you will talk to the stakeholder, you will understand what they're trying to achieve. Provide requirement management and communication to ensure project teams and stakeholders stay aligned in an agreement of project scope and communication. So once you understand the requirement, you gather the requirement, then you take a formal sign off from the stakeholders. So that's basically they are talking about in this bullet point. Provide enterprise analysis to identify a business need gaps in fulfilling. Kiran, feel free to stop me if you have any question
Sure,
or
sure.
anything. So provide enterprise analysis to identify business needs gaps. So it's all about basically the requirement gathering they are talking about. This covers assessing business architecture, understanding gap analysis. So when you get a requirement from the stakeholder, you try to understand and then you do the gap analysis. Is there anything missing from your viewpoint? stakeholders are very knowledgeable, but sometimes they don't understand the system as a business analyst you do. Provide requirement and okay, next go. Provide solution assessment, validations to assess pros solutions to determine feasibility. So if a stakeholder doesn't know the solution, so then you will provide the couple of solution, and the stakeholder will try to understand those solutions and may prefer to one versus the other. Produce the appropriate type and level of diagrams. So yes, diagrams are needed. Sometimes you might need to create a process flow diagrams. You might need to create a mock-up diagrams as well. So that's overall then business case, scope, business requirement summary. This is very generalized, business analysts do these every day now and then. So we don't need to go in more detail into there. Responsibility perform IT agency specific duties. So they are talking about some specific duties, which will be 20% of your job, Kiran. Develop specific knowledge of agency, information technology, architect, project management, concepts, including but not limited to cost and level of effort estimate, which demonstrate business value, feasibility, and potential cost saving of implementing. So basically, whatever solution you are proposing, it should be cost efficient. It should be as per the scope of a project. Communicate system a constraint and requirement to a program staff to resolve day-to-day and long-range conflicts in. So as a BA, you have to always jump and, you have to scope, you have to resolve the day-to-day and long-range conflicts if anyone exists. Conflicts can be within the members of a team or about some priority, but if a conflict comes, Kiran, just get the people into the room, try to understand what they are talking about and tell them the pros and the cons of a solution, and then ask them to pick up whatever solution they need. Because at the end of the day, stakeholder are the people who will tell us which solution they want to go ahead.
So I will stop you right there,
Sure.
Jay. So if a question comes to you around, I know there won't be a fixed answer, but so how do you say, how do you deal with conflicts when you're working as a business analyst? Okay, I mean, when I mean say conflict, it could be a conflict between two different stakeholders, and it could be a conflict between a business analyst and a stakeholder. How do you deal with those two scenarios?
Yeah, no, a very good question. So, it's a very good question. So what happens is, like, if a conflict happens between two team members, or maybe let's say two stakeholders, one is saying to create something versus the other is saying to create something. So what you will going to do is bring them into the room, provide, understand, let them speak. Whenever someone has conflicts, let them speak. We have to make sure that they understand that yes, Kiran is listening to us. He doesn't understand what once they both say their questions or whatever they have, then try to understand what they're trying to do, and then say, hey, according to me, this will be the best solution which I will going to propose. Now it's up to you guys what you feel. Maybe when you will going to have a discussion, brainstorming, and it's only not between you and the stakeholder, you can call the architect as well if it's technical. Then let them speak, try to understand, and they say, according to me, this might be the best solution. Or maybe if you don't have the solution that time, no problem, you can say, okay, I understood you. Let me take this back. Let me understand. Let me go to my architects or the lead developers, and then I will provide you the solutions. When you come up with a solution, provide them the pros and the cons, like positive and negative of whatever they are asking for, and then let them take the decision. So this is basically when it's a conflict between two stakeholders. What if the conflict is between two of your team members for something else, maybe related to the business or maybe some personal things? In that case as well, try to bring them into the room, say, hey guys, we are all grown-ups, we are all working so that our team achieve the best output of our effort. Let's resolve whatever you have. Hey, team member A, what are the things you want to say? Hey, team member B, what are the things you, and then you try to judge. You are not the judge, but in that meeting, you are three people, and you have to be like a negotiator and says, okay, guys, I understood. Let's not stick with the problems we had before. Let's start with a new prospect and then try to resolve that way. So with a stakeholder, you can do that way. Another can be, if a two stakeholder comes to you and they want to say, hey, Kiran, do my work, or Kiran, do my work, then you will say, hey, I have to work according, every company has a roadmap. Okay. So, and Kiran is also working as per the roadmap. So you will very politely say to them, guys, can you bring this one to the leadership? If he asked me to stop working on my work and do your work, I'm happy to do so. But if you want me to work on something which is a large, then you have to bring it to the leadership. Instead of like, and another case can be if they have a very small thing, Kiran, you have worked as a business analyst, sometimes things can be done in 2 hours. For that, you don't
Right.
need to ask them to go to the leadership. You will say, okay, let me try to talk to my lead developer. If we can squeeze this work somewhere and our velocity or our burn down chart doesn't get affected, then I will be okay to do so. But if it's a larger initiative, then you have to grim up with the leadership, because at the end of the day, I'm answerable to my manager and to the leadership. Hey, Kiran, you were working on an example like live chat. Why the live chat is not finished? At that moment, you can't say, hey, I stopped the work on live chat because the stakeholder comes. The leadership will say, Kiran, who gave you the approval to do that?
Right.
So these kind of conflicts can come, and it's a very good question, Kiran.
So then your next question comes with the very first question, like then how do you deal with those difficult stakeholders? Like one says, yes, I need this requirement done. Other says, if you implement those requirement, it might affect my team. How do you deal with those kind of two different scenarios? One is very much important, but if you implement that requirement, it's gonna affect the other system.
Yeah. So what I try to understand is like one team is trying to do something, but if you do this work, the other team work will be affected, and they don't have the bandwidth to absorb that work or maybe do the
Correct.
testing, correct?
Right. Right.
So
Right.
in that perspective as well, you have to bring those members into the team in the meeting room and try to make them understand. Say, hey guys, I'm working on the roadmap, and according to this one, I have to get this finished. If the team B says, hey, I can't do this work, then you have to make them understand, guys, we have to do this one. If you say no, then I have to bring this one to the leadership team. Then also, because sometimes team says I need an approval from someone, then you will be very polite and say, okay, let me get the approval. Team B will going to say and come, hey, we need an approval from manager Peter. Okay, let me reach out to Peter. Let me make him understand why I want your team to be working on this work, because this one is, because sometimes the leadership calls and everything, these IT people or these lead developers, or I will say the technology people doesn't have the visibility to, so they don't know what's happening behind the scenes. So if they understand that the work you are doing is more important than the work they are doing, because the leadership said that, not Kiran has said that, because the
Right.
leadership has said, then they might be aligned and they will say, okay, because at the end of the day, you all have to do the work. We don't care if we work on project A or project B. The leadership
Right.
decides and we start working on those work. And the leadership decides according to the return of investment. So take an example, 2 years back when the COVID hit. Before the COVID, we were all working on some other things. Now when the COVID came, every company was, we have to create an COVID card. Okay.
Right.
So now the priority is COVID card. And if a team B is not able to understand why we are making a COVID card, okay, let me bring to the leadership, let me get the approvals. And then, so that's how in IT industry, things changes very quickly. And that's the reason we always work in agile industry.
So let's talk on this particular question.
Sure.
Like if you have a web application and you're working for a company and the entire space is occupied by different teams. So each team has its own space. Now the COVID thing happened, right? So, and you need to have that banner, right? So everyone, when you ask the other team and they say like, I need to have some sort of space, some sort of a space, but say, no, we don't have this space. This space is allocated to this particular thing. This space is
Mhm.
allocated to this particular application. Then how do you deal with those kind of things? Like how do you give a reasonable solution so that we get a banner as well and we don't disturb the regular functioning of the application?
So according to me, yeah. So take an example, like a website has 5 pages, okay,
Mhm.
dashboard, find care, coverage and benefits. So if 100,000 people comes on my website, I will say 99% will come on the dashboard or the
Right,
homepage.
right.
I will try to put that banner for sure on the homepage, because
Mhm.
99% of the people come. Find care or health and wellness, if they say no, we can't do it, I said, okay, I understand. If you can't do it right now, can you do in the next sprint?
Sure.
So I will try to negotiate because, being a IT business analyst as well, you have to negotiate all the time. So, and maybe some of the times, and if the same dashboard team says I can't do it, then I have to convince them. I said, guys, COVID is here. Every member is coming on the dashboard. You have to do this one because the banner is talking about if you have COVID, where should you go? Do you go to CDC website? You go to US government website? Where exactly you need to go? So if a member is coming in the COVID era and we are not showing the COVID banner, then we are missing something because most of our population is coming onto our website to see what we have for the COVID. If I have COVID symptoms, COVID tracker, what are the COVID locations near me? If I want to get test, where should I go? So the banner will talk about COVID has struck. Please click here to learn more. When you click
Right,
on learn more, then the secondary page will going to open. So
right,
coming
right.
back to your question, I will try to convince 200% the homepage team. The other teams, I can say, okay, if you can't do it right now, can you do in the next two
Next one.
sprint? And they say yes, and I will be fine because we have to focus on the page where most of the members will come. If whenever you click on Amazon.com, you come on the dashboard or the homepage
Right, right,
straight away.
right.
So I need a banner there. The rest I can take care, or I can take the banner on the other pages in the next 2 or 3 sprints or a month.
Sure, sure. So that banner can be on the header, or it could be a pop-up box coming up every time
Yeah,
you log into Amazon. It doesn't matter.
yeah.
So I
And
think that's a
yeah, I will say the banner on the top because the top will always be visible. Pop-up
sure.
will pop up is always when you click on something. So whenever you
Correct.
come on the homepage, yeah, pop-up can be an option as well because it's like urgent or important. Then it depends upon, the IT team. What is the best we can do with the minimum resources? A pop-up
Right.
cost me $10,000. A banner
Sure.
cost me $5,000. Go for
Sure.
the banner.
Yes. Cost analysis.
Cost analysis as well, and that's where you will come into the picture to the gap analysis to. So when the stakeholder will come and says, Kiran, I want a banner, now you have to go back, understand with your team, a banner costs $5,000, a
Sure.
pop-up costs 7,000 or $10,000. Bring it solution back to the stakeholder, because when the stakeholder will come, whenever you take any requirement, they have to provide you the budget as well.
Right, right,
You will
right,
ask them like, who is providing this budget for? My team is working on that one. My team will going to log hours. So who is providing this budget? Because our team doesn't have a budget. Whoever is bringing the requirement will need to provide you the budget as well.
right. Got it. Got it. Got it. That answers my question.
Cool. Let's go back to the job description, and feel free. We don't have to just talk about just description. You can ask me any questions you want.
Sure, sure.
So then comes 20% is IT agency specific duty tasks. So develop specific knowledge, agency information, communicate system constraints, research system process and requirement. So coming back to again, every point when you read, you should be able to understand what they are talking about. In any interview, when you start talking, for everything, anything they ask you, provide them the answer with the example if possible. If they says develop specific knowledge of agency information technology architecture, so then you should have an example where you have worked with an architect, how you were able to gather, the technical requirement to execute that.
Right, right,
Third responsibility comes is service system and service improvement, which will be 5% of your work. Perform other duties to enhance overall quality of IT applications. So this can be, uh, any IT improvements in your system. Develop specific knowledge of data processing knowledge, technologies, and department policies. So these are all general terms. Most of the times, people just put all these in the job description because the job description was created 2, 3 years back and they are just
right,
following it.
right,
Then comes the project management and quality QA. So like you have to uh, get your project done. So you will be running your project. So you have to be like a project manager. And QA, I feel you will have to do the QA on a high level basis. If you are developing something, you have to test it because at the end of the day, Kiran, you have to provide a demo to the stakeholder.
right. So
Then
from a like some roles also say like you need to have a business analyst role along with some project manager qualities and stuff like that. We know like project manager roles has to create a roadmap, budget allocation, risk assessment, creating a Gantt charts, etc., etc. So how BA can help the project manager in all these activities apart from doing his own regular work?
yeah. So see, whenever you're working any user story is connected to a feature is connected to an
To
epic,
a bit,
and
right,
epic is under the whole project. So
right,
whenever you're working, when if you will always be like a project manager for your project, okay? Because you are doing all the user stories. Once all 10 user stories are done, the feature gets done, 5 features gets done, the epic gets done, because these are all tied up. So you have to manage, if you have to deliver a project in Q1, so you have to make sure that all your user stories are done before that one. So you have to make sure that your project is working on time. And like Kiran, most of the time project doesn't get delivered on time,
right, right.
because of all the things we just discussed about, like the other team doesn't want to do it because they
Yep,
don't have the
right,
bandwidth and all those. So these are all the part of the project manager or project management job, that I have to make sure my user stories are done. I have to make sure other user stories are done, which are connected to the other team. And at the end of the day, we have to get this project done. And when you're working on a project and when you go to the meetings and thus, always take the meeting notes, always try to get down the notes. After every meeting, I normally try to send a email to all the people saying, hey, our meeting notes. So as a next step, Kiran is responsible to do the 10 user stories. Jay is responsible to do this, that. So we are aligning every person to what you need to do before we come to the next meeting the next week.
right. That answers my question. Yes.
Perfect. So then comes here you go. So professional and personal development. So participating in meeting, working sessions, and you will have trainings and everything. Prepare a personal development plan. When you're working in a company, you always have to create a personal development plan. How you feel that where you see yourself standing in 6 months or a year. Collaborate with experienced business analysts to develop specific expertise in business analysts. So there will be other BAs working on that one, and you have to align your work with them. Establish and maintain effective working relationship. Definitely. Kiran, you have to always make sure you align with others. And at the end of the day, we are all grown-ups. Never try to make a situation where you are fighting with anyone, or you have to be very professional, and you have to put up time and effort to I will say nurture a relationship with your team members.
Right, right,
And whenever you will start your job, the first 2 weeks is always you will set up time to meet your developers, QA, other BAs. So introduce yourself and try to let them know, hey, I'm a very jolly person. I always love to work with people. Reach out to me if you have any questions or anything. I will be always be available. And in the starting, people always love a person who is always, jolly, and who is always, uh, you know, uh, always looking forward to do things. Never say no.
So,
Always say
right. So,
yes.
yeah, even if you're like, I was working like 6, 7, 8+ years of experience I do have, but I'm a contractor right now, work for many companies,
Mm,
healthcare, medical, finance, etc. So every time you join a new company, uh, it's always a baby steps. You doesn't know anything how this entire system works in that particular company, right? You don't know which systems to approach, how to approach. So you always have to do like the small baby step, learn the organization policies, look for the architecture views, what is dependent system, etc., etc. Slowly, slow. Every time you do it, you gain experience in that particular domain, and
true.
every time, next time the requirement comes in, you know who need to approach. Like you need to approach this right person to get your requirements flushed out. So yes, that's a really really good answer, though, Jay. Yeah, we can go to next one. Mhm.
Perfect. Uh, I'm just browsing this one. What else needs to be discussed over here? So now comes the roles, nature, and the scope of the project, knowledge, skills. I think they're talking about the overall project. So here comes various methodologies you should know: UML, BPM. These are all, process flow diagrams.
Right,
Software development life cycle. You know it, Kiran.
right, right.
Agile, waterfall. Babak book, it's a BA book which you can download online as well, but it's basically talking about what a BA should do in his job and
And
responsibilities.
this book is really good for the entry level BA who want to make
Yes,
their career
yes,
in a business analyst domain. So,
yes. Then they're talking about some SQL language, XML. XML is a format in which you define the parameters of I will say is a file. So that's an XML file you normally use. Then these are all very basic. Business
right.
analysis, elicit requirement management, assessing business architecture. So these are all very basic things.
Mhm.
uh Skills. Kiran, do you have any other questions? Because these are very basic, and I think
Yes, I know that these are very basic job requirements, but like most of the younger BAs who wants to make their career, they have asked me this question like, how do you deal? How do you go out of box related question like which benefit your organization? So how do you deal with those kind of interview questions? There
so.
one was a time you had
Yeah,
when you had to go out of box and make that decision, and which also benefit the organization with
yeah.
that
No, I
thing.
totally understand. Some of the times, what happens is like our team is stuck somewhere, and we are not finding the solution. So at that time, I normally set up a meeting, bring all the stakeholders into the meeting and says, hey guys, we are here. We know this project is very important and we are not moving forward. Who should we contact? And at this meeting, try to bring all the stakeholders so you are not missing anyone. And because at the end of the day, we have to provide a solution right now after this meeting or maybe the next steps. So this is out of the box. Like no one was thinking about putting up a meeting, but Kiran jumped up and he said, okay, I want to put up a meeting. Let's bring all the team members into this one, all the stakeholders. If you need your manager, bring your manager because maybe you will need approvals or something. So try to bring every person into the meeting room and say, this is the problem. Let's file the solution. Talk to the architect, lead developer. And whenever you brainstorm, you will always come up with the solution.
So when you have this big session going on, there is always one thing common like scope creep. Huh? Everyone is talking about their own interest and explanation. How do you deal with those kind of scenarios, keeping everyone aligned to the project guidelines or project timeline and project scope? How do you do that?
So whenever we are working on any project, take an example, we are working on this SSO, okay? From our website, a SSO will going to go to the third party vendor. So we will say, okay, guys, we are handling our work. We are creating the banner. We are creating so same example of a banner, the COVID banner, we are creating the banner, but when we click on that one, it will take to the CDC website, the government website. So we're going to talk to the government people if they have not created this page, and we'll say, okay, we are taking our work, you do our work, and then we'll start doing the testing from start to the end, and we'll be on the call. So can you go and do your work, and we do our work, and then we align our work together. So then when a member comes to our portal, he goes from the banner to the end page and see everything about the COVID, where he can get COVID checkup, where he can how he knows about the symptoms of the COVID. Now we all know about this one, but a COVID page was so big when initially it started because people didn't know. I will lose the smell. I will lose the taste. So you have to align. You. I will say is pick up the work and align the work to the people. Hey, Kiran, you do this one, you do this one, and you do this one, and then we come at the end. Then the work will make the people do their job, because at the end of the day, you are a project manager or a BA. You will not do all the work, but you will make sure the people
Yeah.
knows who are doing what work.
So as a BA, we know like we are frustrated of that meeting and
Yes.
get all those meeting points, and we send out the meeting notes once we're done with that meeting out. But next important question, which interviewer asks or most BA has this question like, how do you prioritize those requirements? How do you manage those requirements once you get all those details, a lot of information? How do you do that? Yes.
So you work according to your roadmap.
Mhm.
So if your roadmap says this needs to be done, that's how you prioritize it. If a stakeholder comes to you and they say, I want you to do this work, great. Bring this one to the leadership team if this comes on the roadmap, because me as a BA, me as Kiran, I'm just doing the job as per the roadmap. If your things are roadmap, I will do it. If it's not, I'm sorry, I have to say no. and I have to ask you to bring, if you feel it's very important, bring it to the leadership, get it on the roadmap, and I will start working.
So there is one more common question which every BA might ask you, like they will say, like, can you walk me through a time when you had to deal with unexpected change in the project? We have a lot of change requests coming up in the middle of the project, right? So how do you deal with that thing?
Change will always going to come. Okay, that's why I always say is when you gather the requirement, initially get the formal sign off from the stakeholder. After that one, if he comes to you and says my requirements are changed, you will be very polite, says I can't change now because my IT developers are already working on that one. Please fill up a change request form. I will gather the requirements again and I will bring it to the next sprint.
Perfect answer. So the next question would be, how do you handle multiple projects uh, effectively on a tight deadline? Because you won't be working on a single project, right? You'll be working on multiple projects. So how do you deal with those things?
Yeah, it's little difficult, but that's how we have to do. We have to, as a PA, we have to work on multiple things. But I will say, whichever meeting you are going, take 15-20 minutes before that meeting, align yourself what exactly you want that out of that meeting. If you're working on different projects, if you know which meeting you are going and why you're going, then you will be able to successfully manage different projects at the same time.
Mhm. Got it. So there's an interview question which everyone asks, like, uh, in your business analyst career, have you ever been stepped up as a scrum master or a product owner role? Because like we know during the COVID, many of my team members got COVID. Even like my scrum master was affected with it, and I have to take up the additional responsibilities of being a scrum master as well as doing my business analyst job as well. So how do you deal with those kind of scenarios? Uh,
Uh, it's a very good question. So sometimes it happens, Scrum Master went on a vacation or something, or product owner went on a vacation or something. So before they go, you will align yourself with them. Okay, what are the things you need to do? And once they are gone or on a break, because Scrum Master is not a difficult job, you have to just make sure you run all those meetings and as a BA, you always do that one. Product owner is also not a tough job because you are aligned with the product owner, and that's why you are working on those user stories. So as long as you are aligned with them, you know what exactly things are being worked on, then you will be able to manage when they are gone for a small time or a longer time.
So for the new BA comes in, and if they got a question, what's the difference between a use case and user story and acceptance criteria? If you want to explain in very simple terms for them.
Yeah.
Uh,
I know the last minute has been, we have one last minute. So
okay.
when a new BA will going to come, he will know exactly what are the things, what is the use case versus user stories and others. If if he wants to understand on a high level what the project is, if you are talking about a peer, then you can bring him to the meeting, make him understand, okay, this is the project we are working on. These are the things we need to do. Otherwise, he will know user story, use case, and others. Uh, so Kiran,
And
these
last,
yeah,
I think we last question before we wrap up this meeting. I think last question which every interviewer asks you, like, once we're done with the interview, do you have any questions for us?
always ask the question. Always have one question ready for him to be